right, mi gente. Now, we've had so many fantastic guests on our show, people that we adore, we love. Today's guest is someone who is so special to me. It's someone who I have known for years now. I haven't even started. I'm already getting choked up. I've known for years now. She was actually one of my first bosses when I started in marketing. And we're not here to talk about marketing. Don't worry, we're not going to bore everybody. We are here to talk about because she's now writing dark romantasy novels. As you can see right here, I mean, this is, the Warrior Shifter series that she's working. I cannot wait to start talking to her to understand just more about how this came to be because I'm in awe of her. I love her and she knows this. So thank you. Welcome everybody. Rosanna Corniel, or some of you on BookTok may know her as RC Luna. So thank you for joining us, Rosanna.
Thank you so much for having me, Ish. I love that we can reconnect like this. We've always kept in touch over the years, which is what I love about us. And that beyond everything, you're my friend, and I really consider you as like a good friend. So to think that I'm actually just talking to you on your podcast about my books is just, wow, this is crazy. Full circle moment, actually.
It's awesome. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and reiterate this. You and I have known each other. We started off, you were my boss. We were working in media together. Many a long, long, long night. And you have now decided, like, nope. I left Miami, moved to North Carolina,
Oh God,
and I'm pursuing my passion. I'm going out there. I am going to write these books. How did this even start? Like, where did the germ of this idea that you were going to become an author? I love saying that. Let me say that again. Rosanna Cornell, I know, is an author.
Yes. And it started, always wanted to write a book, I think forever, but life demands, and I pursued a career. And I went for safety right out of high school and college, and just what's going to make me money and be fun. But always like, wow, I have magical creatures in my head and they just want to get out. Like they're in here swimming around. How do I get out? And I remember you, because I remember you were reading the Hitchhiker's.
Some people get institutionalized for that, though.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear. It's
Yeah,
not
we've
always
worked on that. We've worked on that.
Yeah.
We did some self-work. But I do remember that about you being on some kind of work trip or a plane. We were flying somewhere and you were reading The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe.
Yep.
And I was like, you read? And you're like, yeah, I read a lot. And I was like, I knew I liked you. Like, I was like, I knew it. So I thought that was cool. Always about you.
I remember that. That was it was huge. It was a freaking tome, that thing. Yeah. I eventually did finish reading it. But
oh, good. Okay. I didn't. So, but so I got into writing because, as you know, I went corporate, and then it's a little bit interesting story. I was raising my kids. I had my 3 daughters, and I was realizing like I was kind of making a mess of it. I know a lot of moms feel this way, and there'll be a lot of TikToks about how overwhelmed they are, and it's all in fun, but there's a lot of truth to it. It's very overwhelming, especially if you're not mentally prepared and you don't really have the tools to navigate your own emotions and your struggle of, oh my God, I used to be such a successful working mom. Now or just a working professional, and I could excel in my career because I know I'm intelligent, but I have to be there for these kids and I'm feeling torn apart. So all that emotion, I went and pursued a life coaching certificate and like did some deep self-work. And I realized that I couldn't express emotion, after so many things going on. It was very, very hard for me to like talk about emotion, feel emotional, just like get into an emotional state of mind. I was like all bottled up. So life coaching helped me open up, in touch with myself again, in touch with my emotions. And I realized that after writing for corporate for so long and writing for other people for so long, I also could never express myself creatively with emotion. So my writing was so stagnant and so dry. And so I did the life coaching. I learned to pour out emotions. I started journaling and journaling and journaling. And every time I journaled, I was like, but what if something, is that me beeping? Sorry.
No, that's us again.
Okay.
Well, so viewers, you will notice that this is a virtual chat, and Rosanna is actually our first virtual chat. So we might be having little glitches here and there, but honestly, I can't think of anybody I'd rather glitch with than you.
Yeah.
Just, because we know each other, from our days of interpretive dancing instead of proposals.
We figured everything out. We would always figure everything out, and you'd always be that like calm voice that like gentle reminder, it's going to be okay.
It'll be
You
fine.
know?
And just like
Yeah.
that, this will be fine too.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
glitches, but sorry, so I didn't mean to interrupt. You, but that makes sense to me though. You had
Yeah.
gotten, you've been doing this corporate thing, right? And then
Hmm.
you felt like detached, right? And like
Hmm.
you didn't know how to put your worlds together.
No, no. And the journaling is what like propelled me to say, because I kept just filling up journals. And then when I was done with processing my emotions and getting through whatever I needed to journal about, I still wanted to write more.
We were about to get into, what really was it that made you say, you know what, this is something that I can do, right? Like I want to write. This is a passion of mine, and I'm gonna just dive right into it because I mean I'm sitting in front of 5 books,
Yeah.
okay, written by you. And one of
Yeah.
them is even a prequel, which means that you wrote a bunch of stuff and you're like, no, I've got stuff that happened before that I got to get out of my head. So,
Yes.
how did you make that decision?
And let's not talk about the books I published and then unpublished. I fully
Wait,
launched and didn't, and then I took them down and they're not in the world anymore. And that happened as well.
I
So,
don't even know
yeah.
how someone can unpublish something, but okay. If anybody's going to do it, it's you. Like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, because I was like, you know what? You're learning as an author, right? So you're always growing, which is something I do love about it is the growth aspect and learning and evolving as a human being and constantly, stretching yourself to different things that you want to pursue because you find them interesting, right? So that's kind of what I did. And I said, okay, I guess I'm going to keep stretching myself and keep pushing myself and see what else can I do? What else can I come up with? And for me, it was this story that I had to get out, and it started with and I'll share a little bit about that because it is interesting. It is
Yes.
here. This is the original, one of the original books I wrote. I
I
have a
remember. I remember
Oh
I
yeah,
think you sent me like one of the preview scripts of that one.
probably to the beta read
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the Jaguar in the Mirror, and you can see the protagonist there. She's Puerto Rican, and it's about a jaguar, and there's this whole theme, but it's very, very different than these books that also have the jaguar theme. And, the whole vibe is like, look at the evolution. Look
Oh
at the
well, wait.
evolution.
I can be fun too. I can hold up books. I can,
Yeah.
I've got a whole collection here that you sent me.
Yes,
I'm,
that's the whole
I get to
series.
play.
Yeah. We just throw up our cards like, bam. So like that happened. And the reason I took it is not because I think it's a bad book or anything, but I knew I wanted to write a series, and this story started and ended. And it didn't, again, stretch me out. It didn't give me the legs to go further with the storyline. And I wanted to learn how to do that. And I wanted to figure that out because I wanted her to be a queen. It was always in my head. I wanted her to be a queen. She needs to, at the end, rule. And this story didn't give me the legs to do that. So I said, well, how does that story look like? And what do I do to make that happen? And that was now this 5 book series that you have in front of you.
Well, I gotta say, I mean, it only makes sense that knowing you, that the character reflects the author as a queen, because you
Yeah.
are one, my darling.
Yeah.
And I
Thank
I
you.
love the fact that you you've written this character, and then she starts her journey off in Miami, as so many mythological creatures do, start their journeys in Miami. Um, you know, and she's of Puerto Rican background, which as are you. And I love the fact that you've written this, this dark romantasy. I'm going to keep using the term. I just learned it, and now I
Yeah.
can't get enough of it. This dark romantasy with like a Latina protagonist, right? And I don't know enough about the genre, but I'm going to assume that's not the usual, right? Like it's not
Yeah.
usually somebody who's got Latino Hispanic background. Would that be accurate to say?
Absolutely. It's all Norse mythology, Celtic mythology, Greek mythology, and it's fantastic. And I've read them all, and I was fascinated with, Hades and Persephone. And I think I read at least 10 different retellings of that story in different ways from different
Wow.
authors, and I found them fascinating. Yeah, and there's tons of them. And I just loved it. I couldn't stop reading them, but I said, well, si va va. Like, what about Mesoamerica? What about the underworld of Latino America? We know that they're Day of the Dead people. Like, come on, there's got to be some
Come
stories.
on. We've got Santeria. There's got to be something there.
Come
Like,
on.
come on.
Let's go. And then I did start reading, and I got, I started reading some Latino authors. Sylvia Moreno Garcia, she wrote one, Gods of Jade and Shadow, which kind of, oh, it's more gothic. She's a gothic Mexican author, but she was like hitting some of the mythology that I was interested in and talked about some of the gods that I felt I could take further and in
Okay.
a different way in this genre, because this kind of genre, I really like action. I really like um the grittiness of the genre. There's a lot of
Mhm.
the usually in these types of stories, the protagonist, it comes from, some kind of traumatic background and some difficult upbringing, or some, dark, that's why we call it dark romance, because there's very real triggers, there's very
Mhm.
real trauma, and you can't read them lightly, and you can't, like, you're not ready for that kind of processing of your trauma, because for me, it helped me process a lot of my
Mhm.
shadows as well. If you're not ready to do that or look into that, it could be offensive, and you could leave a negative review. So I leave disclaimers, and I'm like, guys, this is dark. Like, it's gonna trigger, every trigger is like, I read triggers like a menu, because I'm like, oh, it has that. Oh, I want, give me some of that. I'm like, the darker
That's
the
a very
better.
interesting buffet you've got going there.
Yeah, I read triggers like a menu, but other people read triggers and are like, "Oh no, I can't. That would really bother me."
Right.
So I have to. Every book I have has a letter to my readers about what they might expect to find and how that could be triggering for them, so that they can choose to decline to read it rather than read it and leave me a bad review because they read something they knowingly like
Right.
stepped into. Like, be careful, guys.
Consumer beware. Yeah.
Yeah, like I had a guy, I had a couple people like, that would never happen in the military. I'm like, it's a book about vampires. Like, what are you saying to me? You're giving me a 1-star review because that would not happen in the military. It's a vampire
Listen,
book.
and I am gonna say, guys, I forget what branch. I know you are ex-military, so you know
Yeah.
what? Maybe it did happen that way. All right, with the
Yeah.
vampires in the
Yeah.
military. I wasn't there.
Maybe.
You were, so I don't know.
There you go. Thank you.
But you
Yeah.
you mentioned the mythology, and I think that's something
Yeah.
that's so, especially when you're writing a series of books, right? Because you
Mhm.
can't just, all books, especially fantasy books, have their mythology, their story, their lore. But with a series of books, I mean, you really have to like dive in, because if not, you can probably find yourself getting tripped up by like book 4, right? It's like, shit, I wrote myself into a corner, because I
Yes.
did this in book 1 and 2.
Yeah.
How have you managed to manage that, for lack of a better way of putting it? Because that's a hell of a challenge.
Yeah, it was a lot of, you write style sheets for every book, and
Oh
you
wow.
write, yeah, every book has a style sheet and has every character laid out, and I'm working on something called the Zodiac Codex right now, where I'm going to share all of this with my readers, because it's very fascinating, and I have a very specific like magic system that is rooted in indigenous mythology. It's not like the Harry Potter,
Okay.
it's more rooted in this side of the world, and in South America, and in, the Caribbean, and in Puerto Rico. And when we talk about the mythology, for me, like, what is getting a lot of attention and what really got me a lot of traction for these books recently is when I started to tell people what was my inspiration for the jaguar. And I think this is the coolest part.
We started this podcast 8 years ago with one goal: be our authentic selves and make sure our culture was always front and center. It's not always easy, but nobody ever said being bold was easy. And for over 100 years, no cafe has known that better than Café La Llave. It takes a certain level of bold to unapologetically keep your culture alive. But let me tell you, Café La Llave is doing just that. So when you're being true to who you are and hustling to achieve your dreams, of course you're enjoying Café La Llave Cafecito. After all, it's brewed bold for the bold.
if you follow this kind of genre, you probably know that wolves are very prominent. It's usually about wolves or werewolves or so even, the most
Okay.
common books right now, it's like a wolf is like the thing, even if they're not real wolves, if they kind of call themselves a wolf pack, but they're humanish figures, it's kind of like the thing. But I was like, that doesn't feel genuine. I can't see a werewolf running around in Puerto Rico. Like, I just don't see it happening. I'm sorry.
It's too hot. Sorry.
Or Miami. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It's not
I know la
relatable to
humedad.
me.
Like no, it's just oh.
Wolves and Miami. You might see a fox once in a while, but I'm like, about wolves. So I started to like, and I was having dreams about jaguars, very vivid, lucid
Oh.
dreams about jaguars, a very interesting thing. So I started researching and I was like, jaguars, are there jaguars in Puerto Rico? I know there are here in Florida, but are there in Puerto Rico? And what I came to find out when I did my digging was that there were never jaguars on the island native to the island, but jaguar artifacts and remains were found in the Taino caves.
Oh
A-
wow.
And so I did a TikTok on this and it tripped, it went super viral and everybody's still tripping out about it. And like I sold a bunch of books because my theory, okay, hear me out, is like there's no jaguars because we are them. Okay. We
Ooh.
shift.
Okay.
We
Okay.
shift into the jaguar. And that's why we die in human form. Like, there you go. I've solved the problem. I've solved the mystery. And just read my books and, you'll go on the journey with your ancestors here. So that was the
I
whole.
love I love that you've managed to your point, right? You've rooted this fantasy world in a sense of reality, right? Like it's grounded in that, like you said, like that indigenous background and that culture and those things that I think many times either don't really get the love they deserve, generally speaking,
Yeah.
or when they do, it's always in this like evil, witchy, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like hokey, like La Llorona type of thing. And it's never really explored in the way that, like you said, Harry Potter, right? You always get like the Norse, culture has its
Mhm.
runes and the Celtic and the
Yeah.
this, and it's always treated very almost with reverence that I don't think,
Yeah.
the stuff that's from our side of the world, gets that same love.
No, and this is, you have to be careful and toe the line between co-modification, these sorts of things when you're protecting, like, especially indigenous loved culture like the Taino is for the Puerto Rican.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think I can always relate to, like, it's not a sense of commercialization. It is literally my story. I was dreaming about jaguars. I was dreaming about going back to the island in my dreams. The main character, the way I wrote her, was finding her safe place and her magic by going through in her dreams and in her memories and in her meditation to a very special part of the island of Puerto Rico. And this is all tied into how she discovers and finds her power, is getting back to your roots, getting back to who you
Mm-hmm.
truly are and finding that. And we need to find that in literature. And one of the things that, we have to do, especially in today's world, is understand that we do have our own culture and that we can connect to it even if we live over here in the United States and we're not living there. The part of our soul and part of our, like, essence of being still wants to connect with that. And I think that's why these books connected with so many people and why they're being so popular right now, because they're like, I can read the fantasy books with the storyline I love. It has everything. It has, if you like this genre, it's enemies to lovers, it's fated mates, it's shadow weaving. Who is the master? Okay, when you read all these books, everybody shadow weaves, and everybody's like this shadow weaver, the fourth wing. Everybody's got the shadow powers. I'm sorry, this is the master shadow weaver. When you research this, in this Nawal creature is a master shadow weaver. And I was like, that's ours. That is ours. I'm taking it back. I'm
Yeah.
claiming it.
As
Yeah.
you should. I have to say, I remember, you and I might have even been the same work trip where I was reading, a Hitchhiker's Guide. We took a trip to Puerto Rico, and I remember when you were there, just you just seemed like you were home. Right. There was
Yeah.
just a part of you that, again, and Lord knows we were not really out having fun. We were literally stuck in a in an agency for like 3 days,
Yeah.
But when we would go out and we would have, you and I would go out to dinner or whatever, you just felt like you were like, oh, I'm here. Like I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm home. And I can only imagine that's grown, especially, now
Yeah.
as you do have your girls and you are imparting, that sense of culture onto them, I would assume that that played a role as well as to, wanting to tap into to leaving that behind for them, right? Like in this physical form of literature.
Yes, absolutely. This is a huge driver for it. It's like I feel I was born there and then I was raised here. So I'm definitely like, Latin X. I'm more American raised, spent more time out of the country than in it. But again, I lived in Colombia when I was a teenager. I lived in Mexico when I was between 9 and 12 years old. And I've traveled the world to South America, traveling a whole bunch. So I've had a lot of exposure to different cultures and countries. And here we are. I'm raising three, US born Dominican Puerto Rican little girls. And I really may have to make a stronger effort to connect them with that because they're not having this upbringing that I have. And mine was already very disconnected. So it's this longing. And I think, it was Bad Bunny's album that like really connected with a lot of people with that, like debí tirar más fotos and the whole
Yes.
wanting to go home and connect with your culture. And I think it's woken up a lot, something in a lot of us to do that.
Yeah.
And hence the interest in these books.
Yeah. I mean, just because you brought up Bad Bunny, I will say I love that album. But what I love about it, and I think it speaks to what you're saying, is at the end of the day, Bad Bunny is reggaeton, quote unquote, right? Like that's
Mhm.
his claim to fame. But he created a salsa album. And if
Yeah.
anybody's going to bridge the gap, right, it's got to be somebody who understands how both worlds work. And I
Yes.
think that's, a part of that is like, it's what you're doing, right, with this, where you're like, okay, I understand how Latino culture works, but I have this love of this genre and how can we interweave it? And I think there's something important you said, which is you don't want to make it seem like you're just using it as a plot point, right? Like you
Right.
are really making it part of the journey for these characters.
Absolutely, 100%. And in through the whole journey, I was very careful to choose settings. I did leverage the Greek zodiac, which is from Greek mythology, because I felt like I wanted to connect at that level with an audience that could fully understand and interpret what that zodiac means rather than try to teach them a completely new zodiac system, which is
Yeah.
Mayan based or Aztec based, and confuse them. And also I said, well, it's okay. I have creative license to do that because we live in a world where these two mythologies actually coexisted at the same time and they
Yeah.
coexist now and we all coexist now with our interwoven systems. So let's mesh them together. Let's overlay them. She's a Puerto Rican that left Puerto Rico as a little girl, lived in Miami. Okay, she can understand the zodiac and we can have it based on that.
Yeah.
But then weaving in the
She
gods.
watched Walter McGodle. She knows the
Yeah,
Zodiac. She, yeah,
watching the
yeah,
devil.
yeah,
That's ours too. Exactly. I'm like,
exactly.
come on. These are all our themes that we need to reclaim. We need to bring them back to who we are and own them in the most creative ways possible. And it's been a very fun journey. I'm getting a lot of recognition from my community that we've just been waiting for somebody to do what you did. And it's amazing. And I'm like, oh my God. And I did it with so much love and so much fun, you know?
I love that I love that you're getting that love. I mean, again, if anybody, I think, and I know I'm biased, but I don't care. If anybody deserves it, it's you. I've seen you again. I've known you for so long now that it's just like, yes, give her love and then give her more love, damn it. Which kind of leads me to ask about something that I didn't really know too much about until recently. And I'm not going to get into it, but I realized BookTok is a thing that I
Yeah.
wasn't really aware of until that whole Blake Lively lawsuit thing, and people were talking about that movie or whatever, and
Oh,
they were like, "Oh,
yeah.
it took off in on Book Talk," and I was like,
Yeah.
"What is this?" And you've been getting a lot of love. Speaking of getting love, on the
Yeah.
TikTok of it all. I mean, what is that community like? How does that work? I sound like a
Yeah.
90-year-old man on the front lawn right now, but you know,
Yeah, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me in the book world is book talk. I have to say, something about the way the TikTok, I felt like, Instagram and Facebook, they very much, the social work, the way they work socially is kind of like feed you to your followers and kind of keep you in your own universe unless you have something really like aesthetically compelling that gets enough attention to propel you out into the world. Where TikTok's complete opposite. TikTok's like, you post something, we're going to show it to the world. If the world likes it, we'll keep showing it to them. And if they don't like it, well, sorry for you. You know, you're not going to get the views. So, like, you know, too bad. But every time you post, we'll give you a shot. We'll give you a shot at the whole world.
Okay.
And it's just a different way the algorithm works. And I just needed my shot. Like, I just needed my shot. And TikTok, really what happened was I'd been posting for a long time on TikTok and Instagram and not really getting any traction, but kind of moving on with my life and not really promoting this series and just letting it go. And maybe I'm writing a whole other series right now, actually, a whole other series of
Of
books
course you are,
based
because
also, yeah.
you're never too busy. Of course you're writing another series.
Yes, of course, and I'm really excited about it. It's going to be exciting. But it's also based on very much celestial themes, and I'm going to reveal more about that in my newsletter or on TikTok. You can follow me because you'll see my journey unfold with those series. But as far as like um when it comes to my action on these books, I kind of stopped promoting them and giving them any love. But then if you follow my train of thought here, my main character is Puerto Riqueña, living in the United States and dreams about going back to Puerto Rico. That's built into the storyline. That is the storyline. And she gets her magical powers for going back. And that's because she's a jaguar based on Taino mythology. Okay, so it's
Okay.
very much tied to her core of being Puerto Riqueña. And I talk about alcapurrias, and it's full of slang, and it's full of our kind of relationships and the way we deal with trauma, which is very different. And I was always like reading those, other characters, like, okay, interesting, you deal with trauma that way. I guess I'm doing it wrong, you know, 'cause I don't deal that way. But okay. I guess I'm doing it wrong. And then I was like, no, no, no. We deal with trauma our own way, and it's just who we are. And that's why everybody that reads my books now get it because I'm getting the right audience. So anyway,
It's relatability.
it's relatability and I know I digressing because you're asking how did TikTok work. So then Bad Bunny comes out with his album about, dreams about going back to Puerto Rico. So I start posting more Puerto Rican themed TikToks because I hadn't really thought to do that because I was like, no, I have to not market the Puerto Rican aspect. Otherwise, no one's ever going to read my books. So I didn't really push that aspect of it. She's just a hot, lady. She could be from anywhere. So I'm not going to start
I
putting
mean,
it out
she's a
there.
hot jaguar. What more do
Yeah.
we need to know, right?
Yeah.
She's good. I mean,
Yeah.
look at this volume on this hair. I mean,
Yeah.
that alone, you should
Yeah.
be using Pantene commercials
I
to
need that
promote this.
hair. I
It's
need
yeah,
that
like
hair. Yeah.
that. Wow, that's voluminous.
Yes. So I get into the thing and I'm posting, and then I post, okay, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to keep it real with you because you're my friend.
Okay.
Another author that's not Puerto Rican used Bad Bunny's Debí Tirar Más Fotos soundtrack to post about her books that are not about Puerto Ricans, and she's not Puerto Rican. And I got so mad.
Mm,
I got so
okay.
mad.
Okay. Okay.
The
I get it.
feistiness came out of me. I wasn't like, don't do it, but I was like, um, I think you're missing the message here. I think that you're missing something. So
Right.
I was like, let me post my Puerto Rican character and say she's Puerto Rican. And then, basically she's a Puerto Rican female main character that slays vampires and rises to the throne. And I put that text against Debí tirar más fotos, and I showed the covers, and that went viral. And from then on, I found my community, and I'm living here ever since.
Wow. All right. So the moral of the story is embrace what makes you unique, because
Yeah.
it's funny because again, you and I have a marketing background, right? And sometimes we should know better, and yet we
Yeah.
don't, right?
Yeah.
Because your initial thought was, no, I shouldn't say that she's Puerto Rican because it's not mass appeal. It's not, but we
Yeah.
forget, you know what? There's that audience out there that is craving that content. That is who they are,
Yeah.
and we've been so like indoctrinated to be like, no,
Yeah.
mass appeal. It's like, screw
Yeah.
that. If I can get 50,000 people, you know what I mean, interested in my
Yeah.
book, my song, my whatever, that's 50,000 people, as opposed to trying to reach everybody and getting to two.
Exactly, which is what was happening to me. And it was exactly that. Like I didn't know how to niche down and reach out and say, because it was a little bit of embarrassment on my part too. Like, is my community going to accept me for having written because I did get rejected by publishers. I'm completely self-published. I went to Latin influencers and I said, "Hey, would you mind featuring my book? I'll send you copies of my book, and would
Right.
you mind giving it a review and posting out?" "Oh no, I don't review books like yours, paranormal romance,
Hmm.
explicit scenes and sexual content." No. So I was like, I guess my community, I shouldn't speak out to my community because they're going to reject me. So it's like, let me just stay with the people that like paranormal romance, and that's my community. And they'll maybe like to read a book about a character that's not the typical stereotypical character that you see kind of copy pasted in every single story that you read in that genre. And I was like,
Right.
maybe they'll be open-minded and interested, and it didn't work either. So so what worked was just going back, feeling empowered enough to like really come out and say, "Ella Puerto Riqueña, she slays vampires and rises to the throne," and come up with like that really quick synopsis. If you don't know anything else about my book, you're gonna know she does those two things. And if that's enough to hook you into the book, then you're gonna want to read it. So
Yeah. I mean but that's again, you just have to embrace the uniqueness of it,
yeah,
and it's what we should all be doing. To be honest with you, like
yeah,
irrespective of books and movies and everything, like we should all just embrace what makes us different and unique.
yeah.
And you're
I wish we
doing
would
it.
do more of that. I wish people would do more of that. I hope they do.
I
I
know,
really
I
do.
know. So now you had mentioned earlier that these books, I keep touching them because it makes it real for me, by the way, that you have published all these books. Like you can't see it on the video right now, but it's like I keep just looking at them and just I'm in such awe. And I'm so
Oh,
just impressed by the fact that you've written, freaking 5 books, woman. I mean, that I'm holding in my hands. You've written more, but 5 that
yeah,
I'm holding in my hands.
yeah.
And you were telling me that it's going to be published in Spanish later this year. So
Yes.
talk
Yes.
about your community embracing you, huh? Like, you're
Yes.
coming around.
Oh, yeah. So the second it started going viral, they're like, "Están en español, pero ¿cómo que no están en español? Are they in Spanish? They have to be in Spanish. What did you do? And you didn't write them in Spanish." Like I'm feeling this pressure, this like on the back of my, like anytime I do anything, it's like, am I working on the Spanish version? Because it's a lot. Like it's a lot of pressure to get them done quickly. And so that's the goal, is like, let's get them done right by July. I might not have them all translated by then, and the tricky part is finding a Spanish translator that speaks Puerto Rican Spanish.
Claro. Yeah. Yeah.
So
If you're going to do it, you got to do it right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it right. I'm gonna do it right. I'm not gonna mess with that at all. And so that's what I'm doing. I did find somebody that's helping me. It's just, it's a process. It does take time because they're reading all the books first to
Right.
understand the story and feel the story from day one, from word one on book one, so that they can translate it and give it its full, meaning. So I am
Right.
working on that, and I'm not traditionally published, so I do everything. Every dollar I get from a book sale goes right back into some cost of managing this business.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I always say, it's not translating, it's transcreating, right? Because you're
Yeah,
not like Google can translate. That doesn't mean anything,
right.
So it's the nuances
Absolutely.
of the language. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
Rosanna, I again, I can't say enough wonderful, beautiful things about you guys. About, and I say you guys because you and your family. I mean, I remember, your I think your oldest daughter now is probably like, I don't know, 25 or something.
Okay.
Like I remember when you were pregnant with her.
I know. I
I,
know.
I I think back, and that was, one of the happiest. It was weird because it was work, which most people don't equate with happiness, but it was one of the happiest times of my life. Was, when we
Yeah.
were all together working there and all
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
I just, as we wrap up, I do want to tell you that to this day, and I've said this before on this show, but never with you on it, viewers, listeners, this woman that I am talking to right now has given me one of the most, a piece of advice that has stuck with me the most in my entire life. And I'm going to totally butcher it, but you one time told me, I think it was even maybe during a review or something, it's as important as it is to know how far you want to go in your career and how to get there and what step to take and where you want to go. It's equally important to know how far you don't want to go, like
Hmm.
where you want to stop. And that is something that I am not going to lie, I think about that advice at least once a week. And that is something that has come from you. And I think you have demonstrated it because you said, I mean, basically I'm putting words in your mouth right now, but it's my show. Um,
Yeah.
you know, it's almost like you really embrace that, because you came to a point where you were like, you know what, I don't want to go any further in my career at this point. Now I want to shift my focus. I want to, be, the full-time mom, and be an author, and, and shift my creative juices. And so you didn't just give advice, you lived it. And I
Oh,
think that's absolutely telling about who you are as a human being.
wow, that just had a huge impact on me. Huge. Like I, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Thank you, Ish.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. And I do think of that advice a lot too. It's propelled a lot of these decisions. It's kept me from going back into the corporate world and being in that direction. And every time I try to do that, I felt like suffocating. So
Yeah.
I knew I needed to be doing something different, and I've never been happier in my career as I am right now. Ever, ever, ever.
That's awesome. I mean, you're creating. You're
Yeah,
creating. How much more fulfilling, right? Can
yeah,
that be, to like
yeah,
sit at your computer and create something that then now is giving joy to so many people out there. You're reaching a community. You've built a community, hell, probably, for all
yeah.
we know, right?
We're building it. Yeah, slowly they're coming together. I do also write children's books, and I didn't send
That's
you
right.
those, but I do
That's
have them here. I should have sent, I didn't
it's
send you them, but that's like my daughter right there. And
Aw.
this is all about empowerment, and it's the secret plan to stop a pushy bully. And it's
I saw
like
you talking about that.
we wrote four, and they're all coming out this year. So
When do
yeah,
those come out?
I'm still finalizing the design, so I'm also thinking around a July launch, probably,
Okay, wow,
if
it's
not
gonna be a
sooner.
busy summer.
Yeah, it's gonna be
You
a
know,
really busy summer.
last year we had a Brat summer. This summer we're gonna have a Rosanna summer.
Yes.
It's
Yeah, if you don't see me with the adult stuff, like this is very adult, then you'll see me with the kids. Like this is the two sides of me completely.
Listen, there is more than two sides to you, and I am lucky enough to say that I know all of them. And you know what? As we wrap up, I just have to say thank you for coming on the show. I could not be prouder. I love the fact that I get to invite you on my show to talk about your creation, and that just means so damn much to me. And I adore you. So it's you can come on and promote every single book. I don't care if it's every other month. Just whenever you want. Aquí tienes tu casa.
Gracias, mi amor. I feel so loved here. Thank you. I'm receiving everything you're saying, and I feel the same about you. I really do. I feel like I can be myself. I feel like I can open up to you. I've always felt close with you, and you can count on me for anything you ever need.
Absolutely, absolutely. On that note, actually, there's an author in your neck of the woods that I want to maybe try to connect you with, because she's been on the show as well.
Oh,
Tita Ramirez,
oh,
and she's a former
okay.
Miami. Yeah, and then you got
Oh,
to connect those Latina
interesting.
authors. Yeah, yeah,
Vamos, of
yeah.
course. I love it. Yeah, let's and she's around here. She's in North Carolina.
Yeah, yeah. She's North Carolina. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, she's been on the show as well. So I'm gonna
Oh my
connect you. I'm gonna
God.
connect you, ladies. That's it. I'm gonna create a coalition of Latina writers. That's my
I
new
love
goal for
it.
2025.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's go.
Although, how freaking mansplaining bullshit is that I have said I'm going to create a coalition of Latina writers? Like, that is the most privileged bullshit in the world, right? But
We don't care. We just want it done. Like let's just make it happen. We don't care who's doing it. I'm not overthinking it.
uh,
Yeah.
but again, Rosanna, thank you so much for coming on. And look, listeners, viewers, I'm going to hold up the books. It is the Warrior Shifter series, is the one that I have right here in my hand right now. Again, you'll know it because it's lots of purple, lots of
Yeah.
voluminous hair on the cover, as I said.
Yeah.
But your TikTok is RC Luna, right? Is your
Yeah.
TikTok?
Yeah,
So
there and I'm doing a special box set if
ooh.
yeah, so if you have like this is the box it comes in, this pretty pink, and it's this whole black box, and it like comes all wrapped perfectly
Ah, no, pero
with a
espérate, that's
little
perfect for Mother's Day.
regalito. Yeah, for Mother's
Which,
Day,
by
it
the
comes
way,
with a
I loved when you sent me those the little bookmark is absolutely adorable. Like, I
yeah.
loved it. The minute I saw
Oh,
it, I was like,
cool.
ooh.
Yeah. It's
That's why I didn't
little
bring it to
little
the studio, because I was afraid I'd lose it.
Yeah, it's these. I have different ones, and it depends on like what I'm feeling, what energy I feel for you. But I have like I'll put a certain one in there, and yeah, it's just a thing that I'm doing. It's on my website. It's also on my TikTok shop. These boxes
Yes.
are what everybody wants. They're signed, and they're cheaper to get the box with all the goodies than it is to buy them all on Amazon. So
Okay, wait a minute. So they get to support you and at a bargain? I mean, guys, what are
mhm.
you waiting for? Come
Yeah,
on, get out
yeah.
there. Go to what is the website?
rcluna.com.
I mean, rcluna.com. Guys, it's simple. Follow her on TikTok. Go to the website, buy the book. Your mom, you know what? She's a mom. She's got 3 kids. She knows what moms want to read. Your mom does not want to read about you being a little kid. No, she wants to read about
Yeah, yeah.
spicy werewolf
Yes.
Latinas and,
Trust
and
me, she does.
ascension to the throne and all that
Trust
kind of
me,
stuff.
she does. Trust me, she does. Very satisfying.
There you go. Well, you know what? From her lips to your ears, listeners and viewers, she would know she's the author. All right. Pero bueno, Rosanna, again, I love you. Thank you so much for swinging by. And cuando quiera, like legit, you are more than welcome. The next time you're in Miami, just swing by and
Yeah,
we'll just
yeah.
talk about anything. Who cares? Like,
Yay.
you know?
Okay, cool. I'll let you know. I'm going this summer, so summer's busy.
Ooh.
So I'll be in Miami.
Okay. Well, yes. No, we established it's a Rosanna summer. Yes, we
It's a
already,
Rosanna.
earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Oh, I love that. Yeah.